What's up, Facebook? This is the Tim Macy Show, and I want to give a giant thank you to everybody that has liked the page, followed the page, listened to me. Every episode here, I have tried to add value to the people that watch it, and that is my goal with this show, is to add tons of value. So I want to make a big disclaimer here. I think we're going to add a ton of value because I have Jay Kinder on. Most of the time I ask people for their backstory. I'm not asking Jay for his backstory. If you want to Google him, I'm sure you can find plenty if you don't know who Jay Kinder is. But we're going to have Jay Kinder on, and we're going to talk about eXp Realty. And the reason we're going to talk about it is, this is an understatement, but in San Diego alone, Jay's brought on $500 million in production over to eXp. Independent brokers are moving, giant team leaders are moving, and Jay's kind of at the center of a lot of these guys moving over. And I want to get his take, and I want to know why, from his perspective, because he is in the thick of it, why all these people are moving to eXp. I've been here for 2 years. I knew this time was coming. I knew this whole thing was going to explode, and it's happening now. And here to talk about it is the man, the myth, the legend, Jay Kinder. What's going on, Jay? Thanks for being on.
Man, how's it going? I think I might be more the myth than anything. So I appreciate the introduction.
Well, tell me about the last week or two. I mean, it's turning the industry on its head. I don't know if people realize how much it's turning.
Yeah, no, they don't. They will soon enough. It's been exciting. It's been fun. It's the most fun. I tell everybody, this is the most fun I've had in 20 years in real estate. And, for most of my career, I've either been spending the money to get close to whoever the best in the best of the world is, and, part of mastermind groups and coaching and everything else, as I was an agent growing my business. And then, we became kind of the go-to guys for coaching people to that level. And so we have a lot of relationships, and friends in the industry that, that we know really well and that, we know are smart. And, we saw this, I think, early on, we had our doubts and questions, and but when you really looked at the model, you just couldn't ignore the fact that the model was they nailed the business model. And, so that's, I think, that people are starting to see more of the big movers and shakers, number one, number two agents in the marketplace come over. And after the influencers come on board, that's when you start to see the masses start to move over. So it's been exciting the last couple of weeks. I mean, there's no such thing as sleep. I'm trying to figure out how to manage, my Facebook chat, my workplace chat, my text messages, and they're coming from every angle, and you're just trying to keep up with, the communication and talking to all these people. And I've never seen more $100 million producers interested in anything in my life. It's just been it's been fascinating, to be honest with you.
Well, I'd love to dive into all of the positives and the reasons why people are moving over. But tell me, what's the biggest thing that you see is holding people up? The people that aren't coming over, I mean, what are they caught up on?
Yeah, good question. It's funny because, I don't talk to a lot of people that don't get it for whatever reason. Those people don't get to my, they don't get to my inbox or to the, they don't call me or they don't schedule time with me or whatever. But it seems like, it's always the bullshit story you're telling yourself, to be honest and frank. It's always that. That's where the problem, always starts, is like, there's some reason why you can't do it right now. Like, you get it, but you bought some stock, but I can't do it right now because, or my agents might not all want to come, I don't want to pay, that money for all my agents' caps is sometimes the mindset. But if they're, and I'll tell you this, the people who invest the hour in watching the webinar, I can't say this enough. The people that invest an hour in the webinar, they get it. After that, they get it. Now, if you just hear about eXp and somebody's told you about it, this and that and the other, but you haven't taken the time to invest in an hour and seeing the entire big picture, then, once they do that, they get it. And I was looking back through, like, everybody that's watched the webinar, and there's people that I haven't talked to that watch the webinar that probably don't get it at all, and they'll never come over. And I don't ever hear their objections because I don't call them. But the people that you get on the phone and talk to you about it, they see the business opportunity, they see the business model, and they understand why it works. So there's not very many objections. It's usually just logistics. Hey, how do you structure this with my team? how would you make this, how would you, how do you go talk to them and, not, risk them leaving or whatever the case may be, or, just trying to figure out how to structure the deal is pretty much the only questions I get. It's not usually a hang up, but it's a timing thing for some people.
Well, the other thing, I mean, it's been in San Antonio here for 2 years, right? And so for me, I looked at it, said that doesn't seem right to me. I don't get it. And then I came back a year later, right? So I've been there. But I had enough to be able to look at it a second time and say, geez, I missed it. Now I get it. And now I come over and now it's awesome. But the ego is a big thing too, because a lot of people saw this 2 years ago. They made up their mind about it. Right. And now the ego is in the way. Right. To not be able to say, well, geez, I messed up and this was the opportunity. And so if you're watching this and you have your mind made up and you think it's not a thing, I'm here to tell you it will be one of the biggest, one of the top 2, 3 real estate companies in the next couple years. I mean, the growth, every time we look at it, the growth is just happening more and more. And, you can't stop. Exponential, right? And a very good friend of mine, top producer, independent broker, said, do you think it's sustainable? Right. And from my point of view, we have so many, million plus GCI performers. It's like, if you have this many top performers, of course it can't not be sustainable, right? Like, you can't have this many A players and have it not go well.
Yeah, there's some validity to the reason to ask the question of sustainability, just because it's revenue share off the top. And so I understand the question. The reality is when you look at the business model and you look at what percentage of people recruit a certain number of people into the company and how much money is in the revenue share pool that's available to anybody who is interested in doing agent attraction, and then the percentage of people that actually go out and do it at a high level. There's plenty of money in this business model for this company. So, it's, and again, it's a beautiful thing when you think about, a franchise and how they grow. Okay. So there's money that comes off the top in a franchise, no different than the money that comes off the top in a revenue sharing program. And, when you look at, the franchises, the franchise model, they have, a region, you pay for a region and you get a certain royalty for that. And then you've got these, the region has to go build out all the franchises, and then they have to go get so many people to commit. And, then they open up another one, and that's how they grow. And it takes 30 years to grow it that way. Or you got a cloud-based, real estate brokerage, one centralized company that's publicly traded that we all have ownership and shares in. And, you have, the economies of scale and efficiencies built into that model that allow you to basically expand as quickly, as fast as you want. And they took that money that would be invested in regions and franchises and, operating partners and team leaders or whatever, structure that you would normally have in a brokerage. And they put that money back into the revenue sharing pool for the agents that are growing the company and rewarding the agents that are doing the deals. And, it's a brilliant move, because now the company organically grows instead of having to invest in growth the way most of these other companies have had to do. So it's just a very agent-centric model, and it's the future. The agent has always been at the front of the transaction and the relationship with the client. Glenn Sanford saw it, and he capitalized on it before anybody really thought. We were all looking over here, and he was looking over here, and it was just I was focused on how do we disrupt by going to the consumer, and so is everybody else. But the reality is the agent is the conduit to the consumer. So, that's just a genius move on his part. I'm just glad he figured it out. And I was, at least I was open enough to listen and realize what an opportunity it was.
Yeah, I mean, great point. We don't have leases. We don't have all this overhead. So that's why it's sustainable. I mean, if somebody else tried to do revenue share, I mean, it's not going to be sustainable. It's, that's people are missing the boat here when they talk about sustainability. We're not paying for Susie to sit at a desk and pay the lease downtown in some beautiful, corner office and whatnot. It's not an expense. If you perform and you want to go buy an office or you want to go lease an office, plenty of our team leaders have offices. That's fine. But Jay, give me a quick pitch of what your deal is at EXP. Like what deal did they give you to come on to EXP?
I got the same deal everybody else did. I didn't get any special deal. There was no There was no, I think I got dinner and lunch, and that was it. And I was, it was, Albie, who's watching, is the one. He's, long time, one of my best friends, been with us for a long time, and he's the one that on Riggs's 4th birthday had me pacing back and forth across the yard for about 4 hours talking about EXP. And we flew into their event last year, and we got to meet the leadership team. We were coming down there to see the people behind the model because we didn't know, Glenn, and we didn't know Jason, and we didn't know Vicky, and we didn't know, Rob Flick and some of the people that had got in early. And we met with every single one of those, people for lunch, breakfast, dinner, for a couple days, and got to know the people, the vision behind the company, and, the infrastructure. And, they didn't need to give me anything to come on board. I was happy to be a part of it. So, there was no special deals being given.
And that's what I don't think people understand either. And that's what I love about it. I mean, I get the same deal as you get, right? Jay Kinder, top dog, big time guy. You get the same split, the same opportunities, the same program as the guy that just got his license and joins tomorrow. And, all these other, that's where people are missing the boat too. You have all these structures like, well, who owns the market center? Who owns the franchise? Who owns the area and all this other stuff? And they can't get out of their mind. It's just a platform, right? Like Airbnb doesn't own any hotels, right? Uber doesn't. I mean, they may own a couple, but they don't make their money owning cars. It's just a platform for other people to build their businesses on, and it's a better platform. So tell me, how are you building your business out? What are you excited about this coming year?
Yeah, so for me, I guess what I'm most excited about is the people I get to work with on a daily basis. I've done a lot of different things. Had a lot of fun in the real estate industry. It's been good to me. And for me, what I've always wanted was, how do we put our fires together and make one big fire? I mean, I've said it for probably a decade now. And, that's all. I think that's part of the reason I was a little bit open-minded, is because I was looking for the opportunity for all of us that are the movers and shakers of the industry to get together and put our fires together and make one big fire. And I'm starting to see, not just a handful, but I'm starting to see every single person that I've worked with over the years finally start making the move over to EXP. And I feel like the next year is going to be really exciting in terms of our, just getting to work with the highest level talent in the industry all together at EXP. And that's where my focus is. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah, convention is going to be a fun time this year. I was there last year. It was great too, but this year I think it's going to be a whole lot different. I'm glad you brought that up, because it brings up an interesting topic. It's like revenue share is this giant business, and I think it's just a better way to build a business and a better way to build a team. If you're a team leader, you don't have to worry about bringing on a buyer's agent, having them at a 50-50 split, hoping they don't turn into too much of a rock star and take off on you, right? You get to just focus on building rock stars. Right. But the other thing is, I mean, there's 8,000 agents. We're going to be at 9,000. We may already be at 9,000. Hard to keep track now. We're going to pass 10 pretty quick. And you know what? I'm going to have people that I wish I brought on, which I already do, right? That somebody else brings on. But at the end of the day, we have revenue share, which is great. But because we get stock, I'm also just super excited when these people join under somebody else, because, we're all shareholders in the same company, which is awesome stuff.
A complete alignment. You couldn't ask for a better environment to be a part of. And one of the things I kind of questioned was, before I got involved, was, hey, how do they manage the culture of this company? Well, first of all, you never hear anybody say anything bad about EXP. There's a couple of reasons for that. The business model is kind of almost forces, everyone to be happy about EXP, or at least talk happily about EXP, because everybody's always in a mode of trying to bring on other agents. But, the interesting thing is how much people want to help each other in this company. Like when you think of it, and I don't think people really get this until you're in the cloud and you're doing some things and you ask questions, or you're in you go through some training, this, that, and the other, but you're in the Facebook work group with, all these different groups of people. This is the way that this company communicates and connects. I mean, we had a call yesterday. Al and I had a call with Glenn Sanford. He was in workplace chat. He chatted both of us, and, he basically called us right there on a three-way with, on the group chat. I was like, man, this is a really cool tool. Like, really think about the application of, this entire company is interconnected, online, and that's the only way that it communicates. You have the ability to jump on, a call with the top agents in the country and have a conversation. There's so many applications for it. So it's pretty interesting to see, how there is such a culture in a company that's, just in the cloud, connected. And that's been something that I just didn't know how that was going to feel, but I've been really impressed with
it's unbelievable. It's like the first time you downloaded Uber and caught an Uber ride, you're like, why did I ever take a cab? Like, why didn't somebody think of this sooner?
Wait, why would it makes more sense? Office.
Like, why would I ever drive to an office? It doesn't make sense. And I'm pulling it up right now. I mean, I have work chat right here, right? I sent a video. I sent a voice message, and this is actually communication with our broker, which I get a lot. Like, where do I go to see the broker? Well, guess what? You don't go to see the broker. There's no line out the broker's office. There's work chat where I can send a voice message, a text message. I can FaceTime them or call them or whatever the heck I want. I mean, it just makes more sense than doing things the old way. It's
It's funny because I just don't think people get it. Like,
they don't.
They just don't. Like, it's your analogy of that first Uber is right. It's like, what? They're just right around the corner. Oh my God, done. Right? Like, at that point, you realize I'm never waiting for a cab again. I'm never getting in a smelly cab again. This is the way to go. They give that first bottle of water they give you. That whole thing, that whole experience is it's very much what it's like. And you're like, oh, I get it. The residential real estate office is going to not become extinct, meaning the agents aren't going to have some office infrastructure, but from how the corporate delivers, the office environment to you, and the access to things you need as a real estate office, that part is extinct. And
this idea that we're going to buy a franchise, right? I'm going to buy a franchise, get a lease, and like do all this stuff. It's dated.
Right. It is.
That makes sense.
Right. Just like, just like we don't use, paper, we don't have to make all the copies and have, 5. I used to have 5 copies of every contract and all, original signatures on everything. Broker in my hometown, he probably still to this day, I swear to you, I bet he still to this day requires blue ink signature copies on the documents that you when you put a deal under contract with his company. And he was so old school. It's like, listen, this has been determined that this is a legal binding contract by facsimile or by an e-signature or whatever. And he still wants you to bring over signed, originals with everything. So, it's just the things change.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me to send something to their fax machine the other day. I was like,
I did too, man. I was like, I don't even know how you would do that. Like, can I scan it and email it to you?
I think I could do that on the computer. I mean, maybe I don't know.
I don't know how to send a fax. I know people still use fax. I have no idea. If somebody asked me to send a fax, I'm toast because I can't figure that out. I don't have a fax.
Well, hey, I want to dive into a little bit of tactical stuff. Let's give the people some value. Not that we didn't just give them some value, but what do you see people doing in the next couple of years that's going to pivot them and push them further in their real estate business as opposed to what they're doing today?
Yeah, the most successful agents, here's what I believe. I don't believe that there's a goal that I always had as a real estate agent and as we coach agents, is you want to become, the incredible Hulk in a puddle. And what I mean by that is, you want to become the most known agent in whatever area it is you're in. In my little town of Lawton, Oklahoma, I was, 14% market share. I became very well known in the entire marketplace, but you can do it in a neighborhood. You can do it in niches. You can do it in a lot of different ways that you can slice up the business. And I just believe that the agent that is the most recognized and positioned as the market expert is the agent that's going to always be in control of the business. If you are top of mind for a subset of customers, whether it's your past clients or it's a neighborhood or it's a niche of doctors or whatever it may be, you want to be the go-to guru in that particular space.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up too. We were just talking about this in one of our other masterminds. But what are some tactics, right? Like, what do you do to become that local expert, because that's huge, right? Be the local expert, be the guy. I got the podcast. I talk about investing. That's like my shtick.
Right.
How do you develop your influence?
Number one thing is what you're doing right now. What I would do is I would be interviewing community leaders, business owners, people of influence in the community about what's going on in the community, whatever area it is I'm trying to focus on. And I would be the purveyor of content via the podcast, and be that expert, be the go-to expert, be the person that people know. It's not about you, it's not about, Tim Macy selling real estate. It's about you bringing value to, and here's what happens when you interview someone. I did this a long time ago. I didn't know what I was doing. And if it would have been a podcast, it would have been awesome.
I don't know what I'm doing either.
a radio show. I was doing a radio show and I was interviewing everybody in town that was anybody. It was, maybe it was the dean of the university, or anybody that was in any of the civic groups and things of that nature, and somebody that just opened up a new company or brought a new franchise, to town or whatever. And I just would interview them about what's going on. And they're, no one's doing that, right? No one's really doing that for them. So, they're like excited to be on. They're looking at me like I'm like I'm an expert of some kind because I'm doing a show that I'm interviewing them on. Yeah. And at the end of the day, they're more excited to share that than anybody is. So, you've got influencers and people in your marketplace that are seeing you differently. You're not trying to promote, you're trying to add value, which is the heart of everything that I would teach you to do, is always add value first. And I just think that's, I think that's one of the best ways to, become a champion of your community, become a champion of, the marketplace. And that's to me, that would be the most fun way to do it, because it's interesting, right? If you're just genuinely interested in these people and what they're doing and what's going on and how it's going to help the community or new jobs or whatever the case may be, those conversations start to happen. And I'll tell you a quick story that what happened again accidentally. I think everything that you want to do in terms of the marketing is around being professionally relevant and personally relevant. So, you want to remain personally relevant to people as it relates to them. And then you want to always remain professionally relevant. What makes you different than everybody else as it remains to to you as an expert in real estate? And a long time ago, I did this market study, and I learned it from a Coldwell Banker agent. I went to like an elite retreat, and she had done this market study, and she was doing a bunch of deals, and I wasn't doing near as many. I was like, well, that seems like a good idea, so I'll do it. So I created this market study, and this is a long time ago. This is like circa 2000, 2001. And I mailed it. I didn't have anybody to mail it to. So I mailed it to the entire Chamber of Commerce. And there was 1,000 people, because I didn't have any past clients. All my, everybody who was my age at the time was probably still in college drinking. So they weren't buying any houses. And so we mailed it to the Chamber of Commerce. And, nothing happened really, from that. I had a few people that called and asked me questions about it or whatever. Then the next year, I didn't do it because, like as normal, all real estate agents, you stop doing things.
Right? It doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work. I tried it.
And so I had a bunch of people call me and ask me if I was going to do this market study again. I was like, well, that's really interesting. So I guess so. So I put it together. I mailed it out, and then I started putting it together on like a monthly basis and sending it out to a handful of people that were interested in getting it, and in their email and stuff like that. And then I learned about a year later, I learned that the bank, two of the banks actually, were using that same market study that I was creating to make decisions on loans, on real estate loans in directors meetings. And it blew my mind that I had no idea, but I was becoming an influencer because I was positioned as the market expert. And, looking back, it was really smart. But at the time, I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying a whole lot of things to try to, become successful, I guess. But I think that's the position that you want. And even though there's a lot of disinformation, there's this data out there, there's a way to, be that purveyor of that market data and be always on top of what's going on in the marketplace and being real about it, And I think that's something that, you can mix into everything that you're doing. Make that a part of everything you're mailing, everything you're communicating to your customer. Be the go-to person as it comes to the market and what's going on.
I like it. I love it. It's good stuff. So did a little bit of background on you. I know your father had a real estate company, kind of grew up in real estate, but I think you also have a wrestling background, right?
No, not a wrestling background that would actually have been like at any kind of not what would you say, a sanctioned wrestling background. I would say that for sure.
Yeah.
No. So I went to a small school of 2,000. There was 2,000 people in the whole town that I went to school at, and we didn't have wrestling. So I played every sport, not any good at any of them, but I played them all because that's what you did when there was only 36 people in your graduating class. You played every sport.
Well, you were coaching, right?
Yeah, coaching wrestling. And my middle son wrestled for a couple of seasons. So I've been involved in wrestling a little bit. Yeah.
Nice. So how does coaching sports? Because I love this. I did a lot of coaching, boxing, and some of the other stuff. And I love taking all those lessons that you learn there from coaching there and bringing them into real estate. And so what are the biggest things you've pulled from those experiences that you bring into the team building and whatnot you've done in the past couple of years?
It's funny that you asked this question because in about an hour and a half, I'm interviewing Terrell Davis, who joined the
Yeah. So I saw that.
And this is actually a question that literally almost word for word that we wanted to position and ask him because of the the success that he's had at such a high level. And when you think about what are the things that you take away from high performing, it's funny because I coached my son's t-ball team, and if you ever really want to get challenged, go try to coach some t-ball kids. And I'll tell you the thing that I learned the most about coaching.
New agents, t-ball. I mean, come on.
And it's probably it probably is the same, and it's what they really care about is encouragement. And as you're when you're coaching little kids and you trying to get them to do any one thing together is nearly impossible. It's like herding cats. But all they really crave is that encouragement. And I think that's as a leader, you think about you're trying to lead adults or you're trying to lead children or whatever the case may be. It's the consistent high standards that you hold for people, and it's the encouragement that they can do it and they can continue to do better and pushing them to be to get better every day. I just believe that. That's where high performance comes from, and it's a leadership skill. And it's not I thought I knew a little bit about leadership till I was trying to lead a bunch of t-ballers, but it became real simple. All that makes them happy is give them some encouragement and and keep encouraging them for doing a good job, and that's how you get them to do more.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I mean, I've been blessed enough in the short time I've been in real estate to be able to surround myself with a lot of high performers. And that is a consistent trait. I mean, I don't know anybody that's really out there crushing it, doing a bunch of deals that really has an ounce of negativity in them, right? All super positive people. And you bump into some negative people and you find out they don't do that well. You know what I mean? I don't know many negative people that do well in this business. So positivity is huge. You got to give that off to everybody as you go. So you've been in real estate now for 20? Yeah. Man.
Yeah, I guess I'm going on 21 years now. So I got it when I was 19, turned 40 this year. So,
all right. Well, what's craziest real estate story you got?
Oh man. Okay, I got one.
The number one. I don't want the kind of good story. I want the number one craziest story from real estate.
I'll go. I got a few that I could probably vie for number one, but this was pretty interesting. So I had when you're building your business, you just assume certain things are happening the way they should. And a client that was supposed to get ready for their photos at their house, and they missed a few appointments. The house had been listed. There's no photos in the MLS because they hadn't, we hadn't got to the point of getting the photos taken. And so my courier, who was also my photographer, goes out to the house and takes the photos. And he comes back. I guess they get put on the MLS. I get a phone call a few days later. Seller calls me, and they're on Realtor.com, I think, at the time. And they said they were pissed off. I mean, they were mad. And so I go and look at online before I called them back, I wanted to see what was going on. So I go and I look online, and they literally had a bra hanging from the bed, the bedpost in the photo. And, the dishes were all dirty and all over the place and stuff like that. This was kind of a nice house, but it was just a pigsty. And that's just honestly how they lived. And we just took pictures of all of it. And what was most amazing to me wasn't that we actually took the photos, which was still like I was beside myself that we even took the photos in the first place. What amazed me was that we actually put the photos online, and like somebody looked at them and loaded them onto the internet thinking that was okay in my office. And it's just, to me, like, I laugh every time I see, these stupid real estate agent photos, iPhone photos and stuff like that. It's always hilarious, but it's not that funny when it happens to you. And you're like, holy crap. Like, I don't know how we do stupid things like that, but that's probably, it's not a crazy story, but it's definitely, to me, was one of the craziest stupid things that we've ever done, was take a bunch of pictures of people's bras hanging and actually posted it online thinking that, that wasn't going to upset somebody. So
I like it. J Marks shouting out Oklahoma.
Yeah. What's up, Jay Marks? That's right. That's funny, man. I heard stories about this guy from Lawton, Oklahoma. So I know, you can talk a lot about Lawton, Oklahoma, unless you've been to Lawton, Oklahoma, you don't know Lawton, Oklahoma. It's a special place.
You probably want to turn me down on your side. I think I'm coming through a little bit. Jay Mark's one of our top guys there, and is one of the top guys in DFW area. Has a nice little business he's running there. But so you talk about that, right? Like big things. You're growing the team, and some of these things slip through the cracks, like pictures of bras hanging off bedposts. As a team leader, I mean, how do you keep tabs on that?
Yeah, you build systems and processes, and as entrepreneurs, it's not our natural gift to detail out a system or a process. But in order to delegate efficiently, you have to be able to to articulate what it is that needs to be done in a certain certain order in order for you to accomplish a goal. And over time, it became not just the here's the promise that we make, and then here's the process you follow, and then the measurement of did we do what we said we were going to do. So to me, when you're onboarding a listing, there's a lot of promises that get made. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then we're going to review the photos. Like we actually had now in the process, the seller reviews the photos and approves them. Not something I ever had to do, but until you
you put those pictures up. Yeah.
It's funny because if a house doesn't sell, whichever in today's market, everything sells, but there's a time, and there will be another time when the housing market is not as hot. And the calls you start to get are, this picture right here, I got a call on a Saturday one day, somebody pissed off about a photo. And that was the whole reason that for the last 4 months that house hadn't sold was this one photo all of a sudden, right? Like, not true, but that's her perspective. So how do you engineer a process that eliminates problems down the road? So setting and managing expectations with the client up front. Here's the photos. You approve the photos. We put the photos online. Now you can't, that you eliminate that problem by building a process. And, I just believe that real estate agents don't sell homes, process does. And so for me, it's always been about just trying to, really dial in what is the best process for managing expectations and, doing the things that you say you're going to do, and then measuring whether you're doing it or not, so that you can, know for sure that it's actually happening. Because when you're out in the field, like doing a bunch of listings and you got someone doing that process for you, you don't really know until it gets out of hand and there's a problem, and it finally makes its way to you, which is usually, when it's too late and you have an upset customer that you gotta fix.
I love it. Great guy. Used to work put me in a management position and said, look, you're going to make mistakes. Just don't make the same mistake twice, right? If you don't make those mistakes, if those problems don't come up, you don't figure out how to have the solutions to those problems because you don't know they're there. So it's all part of the deal. But Jay Kaufman asked, Jay, if EXP is truly disruptive, where do you see the real estate industry 15 years from now, and how does EXP play a role?
Right. Great question. 15 years is a long time. So I'm not going to pretend to have a crystal ball with 15 years. Like,
let's go 7. I think 5's too short and 10's too long. Let's go 7 years.
Okay. So 7 years from now, I would say that EXP is probably going to be at 300,000 plus agents. And it could be more than that. But I believe that to be true. I think they're going to be in a worldwide company. They're going to be in multiple countries. And I'm saying in terms of just agents in the United States and Canada, 300,000 would be my estimate. And again, it's the capacity for it is there. The reality is they're only going to get stronger. They're only going to add more revenue streams in terms of title, mortgage. They're the only company that has an incentive for you to actually use the mortgage and title. Whereas other companies, when you go back and look, when I had a team and I controlled lead gen, I had a 60% capture rate in my title company and mortgage company, but most brokerages, they park a title company at the corner of your market center and nobody uses them. It's all about who courts who. But this is a unique kind of a company because we all have shares and ownership in the company. So, we actually do have an incentive that's not, something that you have to, become an employee of that company and have, to get by RESPA and some of these things. It's just a better model for that and for this company to profit from what it's building. So I think that's, what's disruptive is, they're disrupting how agents get paid. They're disrupting, they're disrupting what already has been proven as a model to work through Keller Williams. But their model being an exponential growth, capable company is what's going to disrupt things. There's no question.
One thing I want to jump in on there, you're saying 300,000 agents. I mean, that's the biggest real estate company in the world. And so that's a giant statement, right? I mean, like I said, we're probably at 9. We can't really keep track anymore. We're probably at 9. We'll be at 10,000 pretty soon. But to say a 10,000 agent company is going to be a 300,000 agent company is a giant statement to make.
Right.
So, but one of the reasons why you have validity to that, you have some real validity to that statement, is because the big players can't reproduce this, right? Like the big players can't restructure their entire organization to what we're doing here. Because it's they're too built in, right? I mean, they can't.
Yeah. We had this conversation yesterday. When was the last time you saw somebody make a pivot and catch the leader in a marketplace that's growing? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't happen. So, you didn't see, iTunes, nobody made a pivot in the record industry and caught iTunes. Okay. Like it's so hard to pivot a company. And for anybody to say, well, we're going to stop being a real estate company and we're going to now be a technology company. Good luck with that. It's not, it's not easy to do that. So even Yahoo was in the same game as Google, and they couldn't pivot and catch Google. So there's saying you're going to pivot into a tech focused company is a real big challenge. I'm not sold that that's the right direction in the first place. But to me, what this is the reason we're insulated in terms of this in this company. Mm-hmm. Is the revenue share. If you leave, you lose. Okay. So, who's your number 2 competitor? Who's the number 2 competitor that's going to come over and say, hey, come over here and do this revenue share? Yeah, but I already got it pretty good over here. So you're never going to get the top people that are doing well over here to leave ever and go over there. So that's one thing. And again, not to say anything bad about Keller Williams. I think Keller was a great company, is a great company. But the profit share, you can leave and still get profit share. See you later, guys. They can all leave now, come over here and get paid revenue share. So they can both worlds. It's happening every day. So now, but if you leave, you leave this revenue share, opportunity and go do some case the number 2 guy that's up and coming, thinking that's a better deal for you, you lose what you've got. So, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for anybody to come into the market and be the number 2, because you're not going to really, you might be able to gain some of the other people, that are in, at some point it levels out or whatever. But if you're going to be in real estate, why wouldn't you be at EXP? And it seems to me that's going to be a little bit of an insulator for our competition. And I don't believe that any of the companies from outside, that are already inside the industry are going to be able to pivot and innovate anything that's going to be able to compete with it. They're going to spend a boatload of money on data, and they're going to learn a lot of lessons.
No, well, none of that. And I mean, you brought up Keller Williams. It's like Keller Williams in the 90s. I mean, was the same thing. I mean, Remax was probably looking at Keller Williams like, yeah, good luck, buddy. Right. Same way people are looking at EXP. Right. I've read a bunch of Gary Keller's books. I think, the company, the culture, the train. I mean, all that stuff's great. They're dumping a bunch of money in technology, which is awesome. But, Gary Keller can't go and say, look, we're going to get rid of market centers, right? We're going to get rid of all these market center owners. They don't own market centers, and we're going to implement rev share.
How does that make them feel, right?
You can't. Well, you can't do it, right? You can't go to Remax and say, "Look, all these franchise owners are no longer going to be franchise owners, and we're going to implement this structure." They're just too. They're too deep with the structure they have. They can't completely change the way they run their business. Companies can pivot. Maybe somebody can try to copy what we're doing. But with the growth that we're at, it's going to be pretty hard to catch up. So that's what's interesting about it. The other thing, too, is I'm not a mega agent by any means, right? I mean, I do pretty well. You know, I should do, you know, hopefully 10 million, 15 million or something this year, right?
That's
you know, like good. I'm not a rock star, but I should do pretty well. That being said, I mean, nobody can make me a deal to make me leave, right? Like, even if I was a rock star, the amount of stock I have that I would lose, the amount of revenue share that I had that I would lose. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. So you talked about the top performers aren't going to leave because we put golden handcuffs on them. Heck, your middle range performers aren't going to leave because you put golden handcuffs on them. Anybody that does a deal, brings somebody on and gets some stock, they ain't leaving.
So here's the thing I don't like about anybody else's model, and I don't know the numbers for everyone, but I've heard numbers for Keller Williams, and they may or may not be 100% true, but they're probably close. And that's the turnover rate of agents at 30% plus. So when you go, when you understand, real estate brokerage is a recruiting model. They all are. No matter where you're at, you're in a recruiting model. And when you understand that the churn rate is 30% annually, that is unbelievable amount of churn you have to keep up with. And the bigger you get without solving the churn problem, the bigger the problem gets, and the more the threat becomes. So to me, that's a problem in this industry, anyways. I mean, the reason that they're not recruiting 30% of their agents from other companies, they're getting a lot of those from new people that turn out, they sell a handful of deals and then they're gone. And that's just not a model that I'm excited about being a part of at all. I mean, recruiting was always a challenge, but when you look at EXP's model, well, what do? They have a better model for recruiting and retention. So obviously, I think that means there's a lower churn rate of agents, and I believe the revenue share component is such a legitimate opportunity on level 1 and level 2 for an average agent that does 10, 12, 15 deals a year to level out their roller coaster of income. That you get making $500, $1,000 a month, $1,500 at $2,000 a month. Nobody's going anywhere. Okay, so the opportunity for you to maybe make it in the real estate industry, okay, where a lot of people have to get out, is a real opportunity if you can just tell a handful of people about the company and the period, a year, it starts to make a difference, and you can maybe start to build a career in real estate. So I think it's going to help agents from the bottom, middle, and the top, to want to stay in real estate and be successful. And they have all the training, they have access to top that really literally will be the top agents all across the country, access to, if you want to succeed in real estate, you'll be able to do it better at EXP.
Yeah. I mean, awesome stuff. And the other thing is you talked about retention. It's like, if I have an agent in my downline that's having trouble, right? It's not the broker that's trying to keep them on, right? They have 3 or 4 people, or should have 3 or 4 people in their upline that are saying, hey, what do we need to do to help you be successful? As opposed to having one person to go to help you be successful. So
and it's crazy how much the incentive is. It's not that, it's like, I'm not going to get rich if I help you sell a handful of houses.
Yeah.
I treat you as if you're my only customer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will help you with whatever you need. I get on the phone with anybody, and I love to do that anyways. That's fulfillment for me. I enjoy helping people, but like it creates this, this weird like relationship of like, I'm going to make you successful. I'm going to help you get your 5 or your 10, so that you're in good shape here. And I'm going to train you. I'm going to give you all the training that you need. What do what can I help you with? Like you feel this, this almost like feels like a family.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing too is, when a lot of these independent brokers run a brokerage, they feel a lot of responsibility to their agents, right? They want to provide for them. You want your agents to be successful. You care about them if you're a good independent broker. Right. And a lot of people are moving over because if they come over to EXP, they move their business over, they get to provide their agents with things that they couldn't provide them with at their previous brokerage. I mean, when I left my old broker, it's like, look, I love you, but you just can't give me what I can get over here. And I think a lot of brokers are turning around and saying, well, man, I can give my agents a lot more over here if I move. So that's another huge thing that I think people miss.
Tremendous amount of independents are going to continue to come on board just because for exactly what you said. And again, when you think about it, also from their standpoint, not only is it more value for their agents, it's more value if they want to continue to recruit on their current business model of agents on a 50-50 or whatever, they can continue to do so under this model. Again, like you said, it's a platform. You can still do what you're doing, keep your brand, do it under EXP, and have a much better retention and recruiting strategy than do it on your own. And, that's what we're seeing. It's going to get harder and harder for the independents to compete with value propositions that include everything like EXP does under a better business model. So you're better off joining than trying to fight that, in my opinion.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Well, I've had you on here for a little while. I know you got another big interview this afternoon, and I know you got
I'm nervous about this one. This is a two-time Super Bowl champion, Hall of Fame inductee. Started the company and joined EXP with us. Pretty exciting stuff. So I'm just hoping I don't screw it up.
I'm excited for that one. That's going to be an interesting one. It's one that people didn't really see coming, but I think it's going to be one that gets a ton of value.
Everybody's coming to EXP, NFL Hall of Famers, the top agents, 500 producers, everybody's coming. Come join the fun.
We're gonna take over the world.
That's right.
Jay, thanks for having me. And I heard you got your little one in the background too.
Yeah, they're being mild right now. This was good.
Hey, I want to let you go, but real quick, how much more time do you get to spend with? One kids.
Dude, I got a whole slew of them. I got 4.
Okay, so you got a bunch. All right,
little ones.
How much more time do you get to spend with your kids with this model?
Yeah, infinitely more time. And I don't even go into where I used to go into the office. I rarely go into the office. In fact, I'm basically sitting right here where I'm sitting most of the day. And it's good, man. I love, being, I was pretty good. I get up at 4:30 a.m. I'm home by 5 o'clock every day anyways. So that, that's always been my rhythm. And because I designed my business to work for me instead of, having to react to my business. That's part of the reason I got into coaching and real estate is because my oldest son, that wasn't my lifestyle. I was 12-hour, 14-hour days, and I didn't have control of my business. It had control of me, and I wanted to fix that. I felt like that was something that I could help people fix in their business once I got a handle on it. And so that's what really inspired me to want to help people is because you look up and 10 years are gone by and you missed out on things, and it doesn't have to be that way. This opportunity definitely gives you the ability to get control of your calendar and I can say this: they all ask me how many calls a day I have. That's the new thing now.
You sent me the time block. It's a good looking one.
Yeah, it's pretty. But saying like you block your calendar. Tuesdays I block off the entire night for that reason. Just to make sure you're spending that quality time and things like that. And it definitely helps. They don't listen. They scream and yell, and it doesn't matter who is on Terrell Davis Beyond. They'll be screaming it. It is what it is. That's life. So, but it does. It's a better lifestyle at EXP as well.
Yeah. Look, we're going to be at 10,000. I'm just saying 10,000 because I know we're going to be there soon. That's probably going to be the next announcement. But like you said, we're going to be at 300. It's still early. The boat, you have not missed the boat. If you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, man, I should have done it a year. I should have done it 2 years ago. You haven't missed the boat. I thought I missed the boat. I'm sure everybody has looked at it.
Early.
You're still early. If you have anything, reach out to Jay, reach out to me. We'd love to talk to you. I mean, it's still prime time season right now. So awesome. Hey, knock that interview out, man. I'm gonna be tuning in.
All right, buddy. Take care, Tim. Good talking.
Have a good one. We'll see you next time.